Hi, everyone, and welcome to Take Charge of Your Life discussions, where we talk about how to live healthy, live empowered, and live free. I'm Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living, and I'm a mindset trainer and professional transformation guide. And this is my co-host, Roberta.
Hey everyone, I am the owner of Wake Up to Life Wellness. I'm a holistic health practitioner, and my focus is, like Tish said, we focus on mindset and helping people grow and evolve. And we're certified trainers for the Elite Mentorship Forum. I'm really focused on mind, body, and soul wellness. So I want to see people transform completely in every area of their life. So that's really my passion and what I focus on.
Perfect. And as you said, we're both elite mentorship trainers, which means that we have both studied under our mentor, Peter Sage. He's a world-renowned behavioral expert, and he's our focus of our talks these weeks. We normally show you a little bit of a clip, and then we're going to talk about his teachings and try to give you tips in our 3 power areas, which are live healthy, the body, live empowered in your mind and your thoughts, and then live free, which is a complete mind, body, soul sort of connection section. So when we're ready, we'll cue that video up.
So this video is entitled The 4 Steps to Learning Mastery.
If what you learn equals what you earn, then everybody would probably be rich because so much money and time is spent on learning, whether it's online or in traditional schools. But what most people miss is that there are 4 different levels of learning, and only one leads to mastery, which really leads to you being able to create a different kind of life. We have unconscious incompetence, where most people don't even know what they don't know. Most people have never studied how to make money in depth, so they don't know what they don't know. Then you get to conscious incompetence. Now you know what you don't know, and for many people that's so overwhelming or daunting they quit right then and there. But if you stick with it, then you get into conscious competence. Now you're thinking about it because you know the answers and you're working with your brain to find them, even if it's not automatic. And then finally, the level of mastery, unconscious competence, is where you sail through life because you've put the time and effort in, and now you're finally being rewarded.
So this for me actually was a groundbreaking discovery, and I think about it all the time as a teacher. The 4 steps of learning makes so much sense. In step 1 being, you know what, we don't know what we don't know. So unconscious competence is what Peter would call it, but really it's like ignorance is bliss. We're not bothered by what we don't have information about. We don't know that we don't know it. Step 2, then a little bit up from that, is when you find out that there are things that you don't know, but you aren't good at it. You suck. This is conscious incompetence, meaning that I know there is this thing. It could be personal development. It could be growth mindset. It could be in the area of nutrition, maybe, or I don't know, taxes. In my old life, I was an accountant. You know, there's lots of people that might be sitting in that area. They know they exist, but I don't know much about it. That's step 2. Once we start learning about it and start getting good at something, now we're into step 3, which Peter called conscious competence. You're working at it, you're getting better, but you're not that great at it. You still need to engage your brain. You have to think about what are the steps. I don't have this quite memorized yet. And then lastly, once you work your way through that step, think of this as actually like stepping up on the stairs. The last step there you talked about was conscious competence, where, you already know, you're good at it, and it becomes automatic. This is, things for many of us might be things like brushing our teeth or getting dressed in the morning, how you do your hair a certain way. Is conscious competence. So it's an automatic subconscious now programming. You have mastered whatever it was that you were trying to learn.
Very well said. Thank you, Tish. Yeah, and I think of the goal of mastery is to getting to that unconscious competence, meaning we don't have to think about it, like she said. And that's the journey of life. We always have programming in our subconscious mind that's kind of making choices for us and directing our life. And we want to get to where we can have that mind so trained to do what we want in life, to serve us, to give us that better life, that we don't have to think about it. And that's what this mindset training, it really is, over time, life just becomes easier because we're not fighting all the limiting beliefs and all the subconscious programming, because we've shifted it and we've changed it. And so really that's the focus for us, with our work, is to have that place where life becomes easier.
When we're talking about mindset and stuff, that's our first category there, live empowered. So we've talked a lot about how you can choose your thoughts, and they can either stop us or inhibit us, like limiting beliefs, like Roberta said there, or keep us going. So our thoughts are very important. If we think of some examples like stopping thoughts, or thoughts that, prohibit us from moving past those difficulties and moving through those challenges in order to move our way up to mastery through these steps. We're talking about like being afraid, talking about fear, thoughts like I can't, or I'm embarrassed. I know I'm not really good at those things. I know that I have a daughter that particularly, every time I tried to sign her up for something, if she wasn't instantly good at it, she just quit. That was the end. So she struggled to get past, step 2 in many things that she tried until she got a little bit older and got passionate about things.
Yeah, there's actually a certain kind of magic that we'll touch on that happens in step 2 when we want to quit. And if we choose not to quit, there's huge benefits for that, for our future and for our evolution of becoming, who we want to become and living the life we want. I'm thinking of an example of these 4 steps when I first started being a holistic practitioner. I started going to school with other people that were like licensed doctors, like chiropractors and acupuncturists and different things. And I didn't have that background at all. And so I showed up to this school in Florida, and I just felt very, very overwhelmed. I knew I was supposed to do it, so nobody could talk me out of it, but it was just completely overwhelming. And I mean, it took everything I had to stick with it, to not feel intimidated, to not, quit. And I'm thankful that I have a friendly universe that was helping me and giving me guidance and, showing up with synchronicities to make it through. But it was really, really challenging. And then as time went on, I became more competent in it, right? As I learned it and practiced it. And now it's to the point of it, I just know it without thinking. Like, I can do this holistic work that I do, testing and quantum testing. It's just a part of who I am. It's so natural, it's so easy, and it's so much fun. So it took, a lot of grit and determination to get through that stage of wanting to, where I could have quit and just said, oh my gosh, this is way too much. I'll never figure this out. Who am I, to do this? And yeah, it was so worth it. It was so worth it. We need that inspiration to get through those seasons. But yeah, it's definitely doable.
Well, I, for one, am grateful that you made it through there, because that's one of the things that have tied us together. And I'm sure lots of your clients that are benefiting from that knowledge now are in that area as well. So you touched on a few things in kind of the empowering thoughts and some examples there in your testimony, in that, like, I will, not letting things hold you back in some of those negative thoughts. Knowing that failing can be part of the process, or, not even failing, it's not failing. There's no such thing as failing unless you quit, right? It's really just getting through those challenges and expecting them to come up. That in itself can be an empowering mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, people think, well, some people just have what it takes. I didn't have what it took. I had a brain that wasn't working well physiologically at all when I went to this, started this work, but I did the healing work I needed to do to get my brain in a better state as I was going through the process. So it's setting goals that we think we can achieve. They're just not big enough. We want to set goals that are bigger than us, because then we get to employ the supernatural and the universe to help us, and we get to do more than we ever could have imagined. So
that was part of our first session when we were talking to people about like dreaming big. How many people start small, worried about what they can and can't do. So we really encourage everyone, right, to understand these steps, understand that it is a process, it's a timeline. You can't get from ignorance in step 1 and not knowing anything to instantly be a master at that. That's just, not how it works fundamentally. So, you can move fast. It doesn't necessarily mean an amount of time, but you do have to go through each step before you can get there. So really encourage you all to embrace this growth mindset and you're working your way through the suck, putting your dues in, and knowing that you have to pay the price in order to get to mastery.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's our tip for living empowered and working through these different levels of mastery of learning. And then we're going to move on to live healthy. And that's where we're going to talk about the myelin production. I'm going to let Tish explain that to you.
Perfect. This is where we talk about kind of the body exactly. And we talked about frustration there in those in between, steps 2 and 3. And by the time you get to 4, frustration is actually a healthy thing we have learned. It produces a chemical in your brain called myelin. And this actually helps, every time you do something, you make like a connection in the snow. Peter calls it like a pathway, if you imagine in the snow. And the first time you sort of walk along this, you just have like 1 steps, but the next snow that comes along can just did make those steps disappear. The path kind of goes away. And that's similar to what happens in your brain also when you're sleeping, that if you haven't made it through the frustration and you haven't produced enough myelin in order to coat your connections and the new things that you're trying to learn, so that is a strong pathway in the snow, then sometimes those connections get pruned as you sleep. Your brain is an efficiency master in getting rid of anything that's not being used.
Yeah, so typically when we're frustrated, we're pursuing something that we really want or love, or we feel that's our purpose. And of course, there's always going to be a learning curve. And so knowing that when we stay in the game and we continue to push through and work through and keep moving forward, that myelin is the gift that the body gives us to, like Tish said, to keep those pathways really strong and solid of the things we are learning and helping us delete out of the brain the things that are no longer necessary or useful. So it's a very magical kind of process that occurs. And like most people technically do give up at that age of, or that area of frustration, that level of frustration. So that myelin is a huge, it just gives us a more empowered mindset around this whole, concept. Whenever we do have something that's challenging with our work also, we just joke and say, yeah, we're producing a lot of myelin, and we're actually nurturing the brain and giving it, I guess Albert Einstein had a huge amount of myelin in his brain when they did an autopsy when he passed away, and he was one of the most intelligent people, of our time. So it's pretty fascinating to learn about. And I guess along with that goes, the physical concepts around the brain. In order to have a brain that can push through and do the work that we're, purposing to do in our lives, we do have to have a healthy physical brain. For me, that was a huge deal. I had heavy metals and chemicals on my brain when I first started this work, and it was why it couldn't heal. I had a lot of brain degeneration, I'll call it. And I had to really do a lot of holistic work to heal it, some brain core therapy, and of course my nutrition work and some energy work I did. But the brain, what I discovered in that process is the brain is burdened with like heavy metals and chemicals in the body. They really affect the nervous system and the brain and the cognition and how we function. And so knowing that everybody has these underlying stressors in their body in our culture. So like I said, heavy metals and chemicals are just a couple of them, but they're very significant in how they impact the brain and how much stress they put on the brain. So, from the practical side and the physiology side, it would be for anyone's best interest to work with a practitioner to find out what the body is burdened with the toxicity and get it removed. It just allows those organs to come to life and function at their best. And so anytime we take on any big endeavor, we're going to want to have, a brain that stays with it, because if we don't have the cognition or we get really mentally tired, we're more likely to give up. And so we want to have that physical piece in place in order to lean into this and, not give up when it gets tough.
Perfect. There are some easy things when we talk about like toxicity and those kinds of things, right? That we all know that we can try to remove as like a starting point in, things like smoking or being around, exhaust fumes, those things that we know are poisonous for us in our body, as well as some of the good things that we can kind of add to it, like leafy greens and seeds, or some of the tips that you have given me before. So I appreciate that. But like you said, it is a complicated process in trying to, redo the brain and the health in the brain. So I'm grateful to have practitioners and those kinds of things. And we encourage everybody else to reach out to somebody else so that though you can take our tips, and it's a starting point. We really want to, light some sparks for you to start out here. Maybe you're at level 1 or level 2 in this brain health. I know I certainly am not a master at it, and just keep kind of moving our way through so that we can go and find some other research or seek out additional help.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I'm thinking of is that, so many people are on, ADHD medicine or, anti-anxiety meds or antidepressants or sleep meds, and all of those have to do with the capacity of the brain to function. So we live in a society that the brain is absolutely overwhelmed. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people can't stay in the game or find that fulfillment they want or live fully in their best self or their dreams, because their brain literally is on the back foot, or it's not functioning nearly optimally like it could. And so it's easy to give up and just resort to doing mindless tasks that don't take a lot of effort or energy. I know when I'm tired and I've been working all day with my brain, it just feels nice to watch something that's simple and doesn't require me to think about anything or make any decisions. So I think if you have a tired brain most of the time, you're just going to always default to that easier path.
Yeah, that's really what we have been talking about in here, is like trying to fight that programming, right? And getting to, a level 3 or a level 4, or the steps system, and in mastering anything is really about pushing through that and knowing, where you're at, both physically and mentally, so that your whole body can function together.
So I think we're on to level 3, right? Or live free. So we're going to talk about that area and how it applies to these 4 steps to learning. Really, living free would be getting to that place of unconscious competence where, like we said, everything that we wanted to, that we pushed through and that we committed to, because it's like, I'm going to learn this. This is my path. This is my purpose. It just becomes a part of who I am. So it could be someone who's training in the gym and they're getting training for some athletic event or something, and at some point their body just takes over, and they just become that. They have the identity of someone who's a competitor or an athlete, and it becomes, they don't have to think about it. They just know what to do to train their body to get it ready for that next event. And so each of us, as we pursue these things, we're able to get to a place where, like I said, life just becomes easier. Like it's flow. We're in flow, like we talked about in some of our earlier videos. And there's no reason not to move forward, because it's actually, for me, it was way harder to stay back where I was in the negative, in the low energy, the depression, all the things that were really not fun at all, to live a life like that. Peter talks about it being a life of desperation, a quiet life of desperation, where inside my brain wasn't working, everything was overwhelmed, it was tired, and it was depressed. And so I was functioning on the outside, but inside it was just like, wow, it wasn't living at all. And so living free means to me that I have this health in my physiology, but also in my mindset, that I can absolutely know the more I do things, the more I'm able to empower myself with them and become those things. Then I know I can just do more, and I just keep expanding. I can do more and more and more because I know it's possible.
Yeah. We really want to encourage, especially in this live free section, everyone to, despite that we talked about like frustration and those kinds of things, and change kind of sometimes feels daunting, especially when you're in that first step and second step, knowing that I'm not good at this. These are the things I know I'm not good at. But living free is really about exciting yourself, and knowing that life is a choice. We get to take charge of our lives. We get to embrace the journey that we're embarking on, and striving for freedom and a life of our dreams, of being masters of our body and our minds and our health. And just, really finding joy and connection in that along the way, and not just at the end.
Yeah, this journey should be joyful, and it can be. And that's why it's so helpful to have other people to connect with too, because on our own, none of us are designed to do it alone and have, quote, willpower, because willpower is very finite, and we need inspiration. And working together with other people that are on that same journey will make or break us. Our the 5 people we hang around are going to influence us the most in our life. And so it really is necessary to get into some kind of environment where you're with people who are growing and moving forward in these directions, so that we can all empower each other and support each other.
That's one of the reasons why we keep inviting everyone to join us. Community is a big part of what we do. Our tip here then for live free, or our, mind, body, our soul kind of tip, is to try and choose one thing that you want to become step 4 at, one thing that you want to become consciously or unconsciously competent at, something that you don't have to think about anymore. You want to master it. What would that one thing be that would empower you to live a healthier, more free life? What's the thing that you're willing to commit to and struggle through, go through the frustration and build up that myelin in your brain in order to significantly change your life by mastering this?
Yeah, and I guess in that we are inviting you to watch a video that we have that we'll post below this. And it's really, we were talking about that and it's hard to describe because it involves so much. It's called Ultimate Self-Mastery. So it's self-mastery in every area of life, not just in these 4 areas or, this concept, but it's over a year's time, the ultimate work if people get involved in it. And it's just, it'll just change who you are. I always tell people you go in as one person, you come out as someone else. And so the discovery video that Peter does for this is just brilliant. It talks about the brain and how the brain works scientifically. So it just has tremendous amount of value just by watching that video alone. And so we just invite you to connect with that. And as always, we'll have our booking links below so that you can reach out and schedule a free connection call at any time. And yeah, talk about this journey of total transformation that we're all seeking.
So we'll put the link to the video and then also to us. And just a reminder is that, if self-mastery is the thing, which it really was for me, I had to laugh. I had a student once who was also a friend of mine. And one of the things he said to me was like, I thought you had it all wrong. You kept talking about like mindset and mastering, your body and how things were going. And I was like, wait, like we're talking about like wealth and growing wealth. Why aren't you studying things like investments and stuff first? Until he kind of took the course with me, because my one thing was self-mastery. I figured if I could master myself, if I could master my inner world, like we've talked about, then the outside world I know is going to come. I know that anything else otherwise is going to come easy after I master myself and my own programming into who I want to become in that identity that we were talking about previously. So if self-mastery is for you, we really invite you to at least check out the video. It's free. You can try it. And then also our connection calls are free. So if you have more questions and you want to know more about this ultimate self-mastery program, then please reach out, because self-mastery is a huge thing in living a life of more empowerment, more freedom, and more health.
Absolutely. So our closing quote for today is, frustration is the engine that will power you to mastery. So when we can now look at frustration as a gift and knowing that it's kind of a nudge from the universe saying, we're moving in a direction for something that we really want. And I guess that desire came with the way we were designed. It's like our dreams are designed into us, I believe, when we're created. And so it's always seeking to find expression. And when we can, move forward in that purpose, and really it's our mark on the world that we're trying to leave, a legacy for our children. And so it's a really important, focus to have and a goal to have for those of you that want to really live your life fully and on purpose.
All right, that wraps up this week's discussion, and we hope you're enjoying it, and we hope to see you again.